in three, two, one.
Mhm.
And today on the Mikey Show podcast, this is another real estate relevant edition. We have Eli Cho of Crushvertise. Eli, tell me, what the hell is Crushvertise?
Well, Mark, thank you for having me on your show. I'm honored. Crushvertise, we are lead generation specialists, and we utilize Facebook and Instagram to generate leads for realtors on a key performance indicator scale, which is uh, actually getting the contact information, not just generating likes, boosted posts, or getting more branding. We're there just to deliver these people who are raising their hands on social media saying, hey, I'm actually interested in talking more about real estate with an agent. And so we send those leads over to you guys so that you guys can work them and so that you guys can follow up and generate appointments, and from appointments to deals. So we're trying to be that connector. And that's generally, in a nutshell, what we do. And we have a monthly agents connected with the local realtors, because a lot of people are not on Instagram, on Facebook. If you're not on there, I think it's a huge mistake, just because that's where the attention is. That's for another channel where, used to be like newspaper, media, and print, and those still work too. But we're just a little different, where we farm where your market is. So yeah, that's it there.
That's it in a nutshell. Well, Eli, I can tell you that I've been using the service over the last month, been pretty darn happy. The reason that most realtors fail, and this is from all the real estate gurus, from all the courses I've taken over the years, is
Mm,
that if they don't have a reasonable or a predictable, reliable
mm,
lead generation source, they fail or they just
mm,
putter along. Without that constant influx of leads, I know for a fact that you
mhm,
have a very low ceiling on how big you can build your business. And a lot of people are comfortable with that. They
mhm,
struggle for the first few years, and then they build up a client base where it's got the referrals and repeat business is enough to sustain them. I hear that a lot.
mhm,
And that's fine. There's
mhm,
nothing wrong with that kind of business. But for those that are a little more ambitious and they understand scaling, I don't know how they would do it without
mhm.
a service like yours. Have you seen any of your clients over the years actually scale their business by using Crushvertise?
Yeah, we've seen some of our star clients. Obviously, the ones that stand out to me um, have a really good process, and some of our realtors. And I was going to ask you about your process, Mark. That's why we're on the show, and I want to deliver some value to some of the realtors that I work with, and distribute this video to them. But real quick, high level, the realtors who do the best, they have, since the leads go directly to the realtors, some services share the leads. So in this case, when the leads are just purely yours and delivered to you only, exclusively and fresh, when on the other end, home buyers and sellers are on their phones, they're looking on their Facebook or Instagram newsfeed, and they see your ad, a sponsored ad from Crushvertise, with light branding and white labeling under the realtor that is working those zip codes. They'll click on the ad, it'll pop up their submission form, and then they click submit, which auto populates their name, email, phone number, verified by Facebook. And so that's how our service works. And really, it's a bridge to the realtor who gets it. When that lead comes in real time for a text message or email form for the realtor follows up, like yourself, Mark. And the ones that I find that have the best results, and you could verify if this is the same method you use, they will text and call from different phones even, and hit them about 8 times in different formats, which is email, texting, calling, leaving voicemails, and getting that connection and hook in a matter of 48 hours. If not, they follow up weekly, if not bi-weekly, and then every so often. So I think follow-up is key. I think being somewhat assertive and aggressive, and then even on the weekends for home seller leads, for home valuation type seller leads, they will go to the home on the weekend and introduce themselves and do the door knock, because you also get the property address. So I mean, those realtors who go get it, they usually do, versus the ones who are a little more passive and send like a drip campaign and emails. They don't tend to do as well with us.
Follow up is key. And when I was with one of your competitors, um, I had probably 125 leads all told over 6 months, which is
Mm-hmm.
not even a quarter of what you guys have been providing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was relying on their drip campaign. So I
Mm-hmm.
was relying on the texts and the emails going out automatically. They sort of wowed me with that as
Mm-hmm.
their market differentiator. I thought, oh,
Mm-hmm.
geez, that sounds great. Then I don't have to do any work because I'm a lazy
Mm-hmm.
realtor. I don't want to do any work. I just want the
Yes.
phone to ring like magic. And of course, it failed and got
Mm-hmm.
zero out of it. Spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that I'll never see again. They flew right out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned the hard way that
Mm-hmm.
you've got to get them on the phone. And if you're relying on the texts and the emails are the Hail Mary pass. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they're the hoping for the best. I got nothing else, so I got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing, and it's got a couple of good conversations. One where I'm going to be doing a deal with both her and her son.
Wow.
And the reason I was able to win them over, and it's really rare to do it with email, but it happened, is because I sent them a copy of my book that I just published. Of course, not everybody
Mm-hmm.
has a book to publish,
Mm-hmm.
but and that's an offer that I've made to you and your clients as well. I've given you the electronic version. If anybody wants
Mm-hmm.
to use the electronic version as a gift, no problem. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
my treat.
It's really kind of you, Mark.
Well, it's free. Doesn't cost me anything to do that,
Uh-huh.
and it's free exposure. So why not?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's like a win-win situation for you and to get exposure and distribution. But I think, yeah, that's pretty smart. And
well,
it's good for people too.
it's been working for me, and I'm getting feedback. This one lady, I'm from Canada for the audience sake,
Mm-hmm.
and she winters in Arizona, and she said, "I'm already halfway through your book." What? That thing that I sent you? You've actually read it? Holy smokes!
Mm-hmm.
But it actually feels like a present because it is. And it's
Mm-hmm.
actually gives them the information that they need to FISBO if they want to, or whatever it is that they want to do, or
Mm-hmm.
just keep their realtor accountable. Either way, the Home Seller's Bible for homeowners, agents, and investors
We
is,
actually bought a copy here,
oh, hey, look
uh,
at that.
Mark. Yeah, you sent us. We asked you for a link because we were really interested in how good your book was, and I haven't fully read it yet, but I've skimmed through it, and a lot of good tidbits and behind the scenes, like the backstage pass to real estate industry is one of the comments I saw here, and so it's like a skimming through, and it looked pretty looks pretty good. So yeah, dive into it more. But go on,
Thanks
Mark.
for the
Tell us
shout out,
more.
man.
You're welcome.
No, it's weird, Eli. That book has never been done before. In like our industry is probably 120 years old, something like that.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
it started in the States, actually, this industry with
mhm,
Caldwell Banker, if I remember right. And
mhm,
in all these years, in over a century, nobody's done something like this. I guess it's
mhm.
because people keep their cards close to their vest,
Yeah.
and they don't like you to know the inside stuff, the inside
Mhm,
baseball. And
mhm,
I'm just not like that. You know, I'm an open book sort of thing. And
mhm.
what I find is that most people, they look at it and they realize, oh, you do a little bit more than just uh, put it on the MLS system. So yeah,
Mhm.
there's a little bit more to it.
I mean, the
And
realtors who are good and who service their clients who actually care do a lot more, right? I mean,
that's right.
versus yeah, and I think we're living in an age where information is so readily available in a lot of ways, but I think this does a more structured, from what I can tell when I'm looking at it, it has a lot of different specialists co-authored in here as well. So I think this is a very robust but concise, succinct version of what you can find online. That's all scattered everywhere. So I think it is a nice reference tool to keep on the bookshelf, especially for the most valuable asset that someone could possibly own.
Well, that's it. It's, it's funny. People will do months and months of research before they buy a $40,000 car. Months and
Mm-hmm.
months because they don't want to make a bad investment. And they'll do just about zero research when they put their house on the market. It's,
Totally.
that's sort of an interesting thing. But if we treated the sale of our home with at least as much respect as buying or selling a car,
Mm-hmm.
because most people do spend some time agonizing over the choice and different options and
Mm-hmm.
different ways to do it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
well, not everybody does, but a lot of people do. It's a big purchase. I've seen people sweating bullets for months over which jacket should be my next jacket. You know,
Right.
but a house is a pretty significant purchase, and if you do it right, you can profit from it. If you do it wrong, not so much. You can
Mark,
you lose your life savings doing it.
so to advocate for your clients, because this is what it seems like your play is from what I'm gathering from what I've talked to you in different multiple phone calls and formats, is when you send them this is kind of your market differentiator. When you say, hey, look, I'm going to give you the backstage pass, I'm going to give you the inside look on, you could do this yourself if you want, you're kind of very like laissez-faire, if you will, like let the market do what it wants, and here's the resources, and educate yourself, and you kind of let them realize like, hey, look, you could try doing this complicated whole thing on your own, and try to fly by the seat of your pants, and meet another realtor who may or may not follow all the things in this book, or you go to someone who knows all this and will guide you by the hand, if you will. So is this really kind of like your market differentiator? What other approach do you do? It's a kind of a loaded question, if you will. So what's
Well, part of the point of the book is transparency and authenticity. So,
mm,
what I was very, very cautious of when I compiled it, about at least half the content is generated from me. The other half is from the other 10 contributors.
mm,
And I didn't want it to look like a marketing piece. I wanted it
mm,
to be a genuine, useful guide that
mm,
you could buy at a regular bookstore, or also available on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca.
little
But
plug in
little
there.
plug. But I wanted it to, so that when people are opening it and reading it, they never feel like, oh, you got me. This is just a
Hmm.
great big marketing piece trying to scare me from doing it on my own. No,
Hmm.
that's not what it is. It's trying to empower you so you can do it on your own, but do it with your damned eyes open.
Hmm.
What I've seen time and time and time again, I never dissuade somebody from doing for sale by owner, and sometimes it's the only option somebody has
Hmm.
because there's no equity in the house, and that's just
Hmm.
what they got to do. And I feel bad for those people because I unfortunately can't work for free. I
Right.
actually enjoy this industry enough; I almost would, but
Hmm.
almost.
Almost.
But I really do enjoy it. But
Yeah.
I can't do it for free.
Right.
So because I got a family to feed,
Right.
just like everybody else,
Yeah.
and a 9,000 square foot mansion to maintain. No, I don't. No, I don't. Nor do I have any
Uh-huh.
ambition for that. But
Uh-huh.
um, that's what makes it a real gift. And if somebody never, even if you hate realtors, you know what? That's fine.
Yeah.
Here's the book. Maybe after reading it, you'll have a bit more appreciation of what it is that you're getting yourself into. Just go in with your eyes open. And
Hmm.
I just want to help people be empowered. And if
Hmm.
they do it on their own, it really is okay. I'm actually okay with that.
Hmm.
But sort of the psychology of it too, once it's given as a gift, if they do try on their own, and like what happens with most for sale by owners, um, or like a really good chunk of them, they
Hmm.
kind of peter out at the end and they go,
Hmm.
oh, geez, this is a bit off more than I thought I did. And
Hmm.
if I was the guy that authentically tried to help you as opposed to providing a book that's trying to scare you from doing it,
Hmm.
you're going to remember that, because then you know I'm not just a guy who says it. This is putting your money where your mouth is. That's what
Hmm.
this is about, you know,
Hmm.
and just being real.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's why nobody's done it.
Maybe. It's a huge task to write a book, first of all, and to get into publishing, and to organize it and to structure it. And how long did it take you to write the book, by the way? Just real quick.
Well, it was over about a 2 year project,
Uh-huh.
and half the project was wrangling the contributors because I'm not an expert in all things real estate. I'm an
Sure.
expert in what I do. Uh,
Right.
so I got 10 extra experts. So putting them together was time intensive, but all in
Sure.
all, it was easily over 1,000 hours
Uh-huh. Wow.
to put it out. So a lot of early mornings and late nights for
Mm-hmm.
over a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so glad I did it. So glad.
I can't ever say that I wrote a book, so I mean that's a great accomplishment, Mark. Just as you know, on the fly here. But I want to just go back to real quick, Mark. What and just walk us through the process for any new realtors out there in terms of rookie realtors or realtors who have been doing this and have their old ways of like generating leads. I mean, leads come from everywhere, whether it's in person, they do open houses, but it taxes their time and energy, right? People
Mhm.
on the weekends. I wouldn't ever say not do that. I think doing all different hats and seeing what style works for yourself as realtor is the way to go, because we actually use our own product as Crushvertise. We generate our own leads. We do Instagram, Facebook marketing, and that's how I get agents on the phone myself, and I follow up right away. And that's how we get like half of our clients from doing social media marketing, because we have to practice what we preach, right? We can't just be like, "Hey, Mr. Realtor, like work, just generate your leads through Facebook, Instagram." We don't do it. It doesn't just ever make sense. So actually, when realtors get on the phone with me, they're like, "How do I know this works?" And I'm like, well, we're talking. You're technically a lead for us, and in the same way you'd use the service, and actually makes our eyes open, half of them at least, and say, oh my gosh, this stuff actually does work because I'm a prospective client, and then they
You have
sign
to
up with
treat the
us.
system similar to if you know how to work an open house correctly.
Mm,
So you always have to have some value to give. It's not about what you can take, it's about what you can give. So
mm,
uh, if you're doing it right, like the number one advertisement thing that everybody does, which is why I don't do it because everybody does
mm.
it, although it
Okay.
does work, is marketing for free home evaluations. So
Mm,
some of the biggest players in the world that do
mm,
400 or 500 deals a year, which is huge.
mm.
That's all they do is free home evaluations, free home evaluations.
Right.
Um, that's a tough space to occupy unless you have a massive marketing budget.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying don't do it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not for me. I don't want to play against the big boys.
Okay.
So, but have something of value. Uh, and maybe it is the free market evaluation, or if you're looking for buyers leads, have something of value.
Right.
If you don't want to buy a top 10 list that you can give them as sort of like a, not a flyer, but just some sort of information that's helpful for them.
Right. Right.
Something, but have a gift, something that you can give them. One guy that I was talking to used branded salt and pepper shakers. I was like,
Uh-huh.
well, that's kind of smart actually. Um, but it's the salt and pepper shakers. What they would do though is give you, hey, can I drop this off for you? Great.
Uh-huh.
The whole point was getting a face to face, belly to belly,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
People are, with all the texting and emailing, they like to hide behind their phones and their screens. But you cannot build a good relationship unless you get face to face with somebody. I've had
Mm,
1,000 gurus tell me otherwise, but I've never seen it. I've never seen an exception to this. So if there's a way around it, please somebody educate me.
yeah.
But I don't see it, and that's why when you and I do calls, we have the FaceTime. Right?
Right.
It's like we're in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
It's the next best thing to belly. And then from this, it's getting them on the phone. So the process, the purpose of the process is get them on the phone for the purpose of an appointment. To
Right.
get the appointment, have something to give them that they might actually want, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's a top 10 things buyers need to know list
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is. And don't do it with an email. The
Mm-hmm.
purpose of the phone call is to get a face-to-face appointment, to
Mm-hmm.
give them something of value. That's
Yeah,
the
man.
system.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've done that, giving starts the receiving process. You've met somebody face to face. You are now, that is your market differentiator.
Mm-hmm.
Your market differentiator is you didn't see me on a bus bench. You saw me
Mm-hmm.
face to face, and I
Mm-hmm.
physically gave you something.
Right.
It's like the people that give out calendars all the time. Well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful. It works. I know a
Mm-hmm.
very high performing realtor. She's retired now.
Mm-hmm.
And in a market of 40,000 doors,
Mm-hmm.
40,000 people would get an annual calendar with a picture of their own house on the calendar. So it's more
Wow.
personal. Okay.
How does she scale that? Do you know?
Just by doing more, you know,
She goes around to the neighborhood and takes pictures of every house.
she has a service to it,
Oh wow. Okay.
you know, but it's personalized and it's a
Yeah.
gift. But how
Mm-hmm.
much more powerful would that be if you're door knocking with that and asking
Mm-hmm.
permission and saying, hey, now that would be a smaller scale, a smaller segment, but it's more bang for the buck. So it's smaller farm area,
Mm-hmm.
higher production.
Higher return. Yeah.
But she understands scaling and she has the money to invest. So she spends $40,000 a year, somewhere
Mm-hmm.
between $30,000 and $40,000 a year to make sure that everybody has one of these calendars.
Wow.
So she's got it down to a science. She does it every year. You get a fresh picture of your house on a calendar personalized for you. And it
Do you know
says,
what the return on investment, what she spends? You said $40,000 a year, and do you know how many deals she does by chance?
I do. She would be typically
Okay.
making 500,000 or 600,000 a year in gross commissions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think she's scratched close to the $1 million mark once or twice.
Okay.
But I think she hovers around the 500-600 mark.
I'm just curious if you knew like exactly what the correlation might be from those
I
calendars.
don't think she knows.
Okay.
You know, because
Okay.
it's hard to say how much is just the calendars and how
Uh-huh.
much creating new business.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hey, if it works, it works. It works.
So how measurable? Sorry to interrupt, Mark, but how measurable is the social media game, online game for you? Do you have your metrics so far with the Crushvertise or other social media platforms that you use?
It is, and you got to measure it in how many face-to-face appointments
Okay.
is the right metric for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know when everybody says, "Oh, it's a numbers game," yeah, it is, but know what numbers you're looking at. How many
Mm-hmm.
people did I face-to-face meet, give a gift to that they're not going to throw in the garbage? Like it's because it's a
Okay.
real gift that actually has some value, and that's
Mm-hmm.
how I use the book.
Yeah.
So step one is get them actually on the phone. The
Mm-hmm.
Hail Mary passes the voicemail, email, and uh, when I send them an email,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, hey, thanks for reaching out.
Uh-huh.
In the meantime, before I get a hold of you, here's electronic copy of the book. Now it's a real, genuine gift.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. Like, what exactly are your scripts, and how often, how quickly are you following up with your email and your text and your phone calls? Like, can you give some of your listeners some real tangible uh, things that you do step by step? So the lead comes in, you text them, you call them right away. How does that work, or what's your script like if you have
Um,
one?
it's very, very short and concise, and there's really I haven't, because it's a warm call. Like they reached out to me
Right.
by clicking on your link. They are
Mhm.
reaching. They've asked for information.
Right.
So that's how I go at it. It's like, hey, you clicked on something looking for information, but I don't know what. So could you
Uh-huh.
tell me what are you looking for, and just get the conversation going. So
Is
I'm
that exactly what you say? Like literally when you call them, and tell us like how many people pick up. Give the listeners some like real percentages and what you find, because I think some people have
I'm getting about
difficulty.
20% on the phone.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
maybe even 30%. I have the full list. I'd actually have to do the math on it, but I take each lead that I get from you guys, I cut and paste it, throw it into into a Word doc,
Okay.
and I number them and date them.
Okay.
So I have them numbered, dated, and then because it's on a Word doc, I just throw under the information all my notes of
Mm-hmm.
what I sent, when I sent it,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep doing follow up, follow up, follow up. I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't chase the ones that I don't get a hold of. That's
Okay.
how I don't beat the dead horse. I
Okay.
used I used to do that. I used to follow people right into the dirt, but
When did they become a dead horse to you?
um, right away, actually. Like if I
Okay.
can't get you on the phone,
How
um,
many times you tried, Mark?
on to the next one. I I try twice, and I
Uh,
throw out the email with a gift,
okay.
and that's pretty much it. But I'm
So
getting a
you leave
lot.
a voicemail?
I will leave a voicemail saying, "Hey, you reached out.
Uh-huh.
I'm responding."
Hmm.
I
Can you
see
go
that.
exactly how you say it? Like, because I want listeners to almost copy your style because you've had a lot of success with us. Out of the leads that you've gotten, and you've gotten the most appointments, one of the most appointments out of all the other realtors I've heard. So I want listeners to really get some real like practical steps, especially your realtor listeners who are looking to do proper follow up, especially in the beginning, and what your strategies are and when someone becomes dead. So I want some of that really granular uh, detail, if you could.
Sure, yeah, it's straightforward. But first, the mindset on it is that they're not a lead.
Hmm.
They're somebody that asked me for help.
Mm.
So that's the mindset. That's
That's
the
the inner
first
game.
thing. That's the inner game. So
Hmm.
before I get on there, like, hey, it's not. I threw out this clickbait tricky thing for you to click on, and oh, now I got you. Like,
Yeah.
no, you asked for help.
Mm.
I'm here to help. What can I do for you?
Mm.
And it's really that simple. So the phone call would sound like, "Hi, Eli. It's Mark with Remax. I just got a notification that you were reaching out for some real estate information yesterday at around 1 o'clock. Do you remember doing that? Okay.
Um, I'm not sure. Did I do that?
Well, I have your information, unless somebody's ghosting your information. But were you in the house? Were you in the market for some real estate information, either to buy a house or potentially looking at getting a market evaluation to see what your house is worth? Was that in your head yesterday?
I don't know. I was just curious. I think I clicked on something.
See,
I was just curious how much my home value was. Right?
which would be fine, right? And if I get the I'm just curious thing, which is there, it's like, oh shit, somebody actually got me on the phone and is talking to me.
Yeah.
Um, I just let him off the hook immediately. Like, hey, just curious is just fine.
Uh-huh.
I'm here to help, even if you're just curious and you're not looking to buy or sell the house. I say that right away because that's
Oh,
their out. So I say they're out before they say it. I say their objection before they have a chance. It's like, hey, if you're just looking and you're just curious and you have absolutely no intention of buying or selling real estate in the next 2 years, that's perfectly fine. Well, so that lets them off the hook. So now the
that's a key thing, Mark, because I think a lot of realtors at that point, their way of they immediately disqualify the client, those prospects, and say, oh, they're just curious. They're not a real serious person, because they don't understand that that's a knee-jerk reaction. It's like, hey, do you need any help when you walk into a shoe store? That they're like, I'm just looking. Like
yeah,
it's just
it's a
it's a
brush
reflex.
off. It's all it is. It's the please don't eat me brush off.
Uh huh.
It's like you go into a car lot and you get that cringe when the car guy comes up to you, and this has actually been said to me. What's it going to take to get you into a car today?
Uh
What? Somebody
huh.
told you to say that?
It's
Holy
just generations
smoke.
of salespeople like trying to teach each other.
Oh.
They don't know what they're doing.
For any car sales folks out there, if your sales manager tells you to walk up to people and just say, "What's it going to take to get you into a car today?"
Hmm. So, Mark,
Walk
I think
away.
that's key. That's a key differentiator for you as you getting on the phone. See, people when they listen to you, see, instead of you overcoming that objection, you say the objection for them and you take the win out of their sales. Is what I'm gathering, and then you're able to make that prospect very comfortable with you on the phone very early, because they're like, oh, okay, he's not a high pressure salesperson on the phone who's just going to try to sell me. This person's actually, and they can hear it in your tone, they could hear it in the way you approach them, in your language, and that you're very hands off, and you're like, hey, it's perfectly fine if you're just curious. Is that what I'm getting from you, Mark?
The enemy of the warm call is confirmation bias. The confirmation bias, as soon as they think, "Oh shit, salesperson," they are looking for any clue that says you're a predator and you're here to eat me.
Mm-hmm.
You're here to take my money.
Mm-hmm.
So the second you sound like a predator, you're a predator.
Mm-hmm.
And the defenses are up, and away you go. So the reason that you get your mindset into the service mindset before you even do the follow-up call, that, hey, you asked for a bag of cookies, I happen to have a bag of cookies right here.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like that delivered to your door?
Uh-huh.
And then you deliver it to their door on time, gift wrapped, no strings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether that bag of cookies is a list of relevant homes for sale, um, or a market evaluation. In my case, I offer both those things plus the book.
Right.
But whatever your bag of cookies is, make sure it's a bag of cookies that has value. And remember that they reached out for you or for the
Right.
information. And
Mm-hmm.
if you are the giver of the information,
Mm-hmm.
and just being helperton, you know, then you're not a predator. So if you don't want to be treated like a predator, don't
Right.
actually be one.
Right.
And that's the whole gist of why I do what I do, and some of the techniques when I'm talking with them. You talked about saying the objection first, because that when you do that, when you know that the number one objection is, oh, I was just curious, I was just looking. So say it first. It's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you might be just curious, you might be just looking. If that's the case, that's fine. But
Mm-hmm.
yesterday at 2:00, you did click on the link. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
here to help, even if you're just curious. What can I help you with?
Mm-hmm.
What are you looking for?
Wow. Okay.
And get the conversation going with the
How do you?
point
Uh-huh.
of booking the appointment. The point
Mm-hmm.
of your conversation is to not try to turn them into a client. That is not the
Right.
point. The
Mm-hmm.
point is to get a belly to belly, face to face meeting, even if it's a 10-second meeting, to drop something off for them physically.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have value.
So can you go through a little bit of that script? There's two points. So I'm glad you covered that second part, because I think there's a weird balance of having that intention, of having that, like, that advocate. You're their advocate. You're just trying to help them, and I can see the purity in your intention and motives, and you're just like, no strings attached. I really appreciate that, Mark. But number two, people who are too far on that side of the spectrum will be like, oh, I'm just adding value. I'm dropping off CMAs to every house, emailing them CMAs, comparative market analysis, or just handing out books. But then they're missing that closer mentality as well, where they're trying to book that appointment. At the same time, they're like, how do we fully evaluate your needs, and have this real remove time out of the equation, see what you're really about? Am I summarizing this correctly, or am I on the right track, Mark?
I think so. I think so from what I'm hearing. And the bottom line is, what can I give them that has value?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how you build a relationship.
Yeah.
And when you're doing it honestly, by providing actual value,
Mm-hmm.
um, and, and that's part of the reason I did the book, because whether it's my own insecurities, which it probably is,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm a Remax guy, but most of the bigger companies, they have all kinds of resources of like brochure pamphlet size marketing pieces with
Uh-huh.
helpful tips for renovations or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And and then you stick your business card on the back. I
Got it.
that's a good thing to do.
But a lot of people throw away those brochures, right? Once they get them, I'll throw that away, or a postcard, or
Yeah,
calendars. I'll throw those away.
it didn't for me, and it could be my own hangups. It probably is, but it just
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel like a real gift, because I did that. I
Mm-hmm.
even had a little. I published the first book I did on real estate was what like a booklet, like was about a 50-page buyers and sellers guide,
Mm-hmm.
and staples in the middle.
Okay.
Um, but I didn't realize what a powerful tool that was when I had it.
Okay.
But it didn't, because it felt like a pamphlet, like
Right. Right. Right.
it
Right.
was a book.
So in between a book and like a brochure, it's
It was a
what
booklet.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a booklet. And it was funny. One of the prospects I was following up with, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm looking forward to receiving your booklet. I'm like, okay. And I didn't correct them, right? Because I want them to be surprised. It's like, oh, 280 pages. That's not a book.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that is
It's a
the
book.
Bible. That's a book
So the
book.
Bible. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the Bible. Um, Realtors are getting commoditized more and more and more and more and more and more. And everybody says, "Oh, I want to have my market differentiator." Yeah, good luck with that as a realtor. I didn't know any other way to do it. There's a service I was talking to you about it. Darned if I can remember the name of the company though, where they brand books to you. They've got like 15, 16 different specialty titles, all real estate books, whether you're looking at FSBOs, expireds,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. They've got a book for that.
Mm-hmm.
I've never read any of them, so I haven't vetted any of them. I don't know if they're written well or if the content has any value, but
Right.
it's a book that you can stick your name on and it's cheap. Like you sign up for a couple $100 and then start ordering books at
Uh-huh.
$7 each or whatever they are.
Uh-huh.
Um, so a person can do that, do some Googling,
Yeah.
find this company, and then brand yourself on a book.
It's kind
The
of like whitelisting the book. Yeah.
So you've used that term a couple of times. What's this white labeling thing? What
White
is it?
labeling is it's when you can take another service and put your put your name or title on top of it.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's all it means. I say listing. I think I just mean white labeling is the term. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. The majority of books are ghost written anyway that are out there in the nonfiction world. You hear all these
Mm-hmm.
people coming out with a book. It's
Like
like,
Donald Trump's like Art of the Deal.
oh yeah, I know they're all ghost written. Trump
Uh-huh.
has, I think, 5, 6 books out
Uh-huh.
there. Has one with Kiyosaki. He didn't actually sit down, tippity tap,
Yeah.
putting this thing together. No,
Uh-huh.
no, they don't do that.
Uh-huh.
They have somebody like me listening to them, taking notes, and then compiling it. And
Right.
by the way, if you're a multi-billionaire and you want a book,
Uh-huh.
ghostwriter right here. I'm a hell of a good.
Uh-huh.
I'll ghostwrite a book for you. I enjoy that. But whether I'm just saying that there's nothing wrong with ghostwriting.
Yeah.
Just that with this company that I mentioned, you'd want to make sure. Here's what you don't want.
Uh-huh.
Hey, I got this great gift for you. Oh,
Right.
nice. And
Yeah.
then under deliver because they crack it open and they go, this is complete swill. Like
Uh-huh.
this garbage. There's
Yeah.
nothing useful here. And all you're trying to do is talk me into not doing it on my own and using a realtor.
Right.
That's not a gift. And
Uh-huh.
it's not a good marketing piece. But with this bad boy,
Yeah.
it's real, it's genuine. So you can take it, and there is information that will help you not lose thousands and thousands of dollars, and
Yeah.
make some
The first
really
chapter I
good
read,
choices.
and I was like, oh, what's the proper order, chicken or egg? Do you sell or buy a house first? And even that first chapter, I could say like, there's a horror story in there
Yeah,
of during the 2008 crisis, and this person had sold their home first, and then they were under the gun of buying a home afterwards. And when the prices were dipping down very fast, they couldn't sell their house after they had bought a house because they kept their price, and then the price of their home just kept plummeting. And then they sold their house a lot cheaper than they should have because they had to move out and go into the new home. So that was right, Mark? That's what kind of happened.
it was, and that's a real story. It's I'm still friends with them today. Um, it was horrible to watch because a young couple, first house that I
Mm.
sold to them, and then when
Yeah.
they wanted to move to a smaller town, a couple hours north, um, and I begged them because I saw the writing on the wall. I'm like, oh boy, you got to get ahead of the curve here, and this is what you got to do. But they just would not listen. The husband was listening, but the wife wasn't, and I did everything I could to try to win him over, and
Right.
so helpless.
Yeah.
And they lost because they didn't listen.
Uh-huh.
About $80,000, give or take.
Yeah.
It's just because they kept hanging
They,
on and didn't price it right. And if they just followed the formula, and $80,000 is a lot of money for anybody,
right.
like any normal person. But for a young couple just
Hmm.
starting out, two
Hmm.
little kids, that was an absolute fortune to lose.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
just,
They got mouths to feed. Would
oh
you say
God.
that we're in a similar type of market, Mark? Market sound like Marky Mark. Like, you know, we're in somewhat of a correction or slowing down or somewhat. Do you think that that's the same type of market we're in, where people should definitely be buying first, not buying first, selling their house first, and then looking to buy a home?
If a market is really flat or slow, then yeah, absolutely. The only time that it is safe to buy first and then
Mm-hmm.
sell is in a
Mm-hmm.
super hot market, especially like a rapidly inclining market. And then it's actually the smartest thing to do. Still a little on
Right.
the scary side.
Uh-huh.
Um, so hopefully you have a nest egg just in case.
Right.
And hopefully you have the financing where you can do it and bridge
Mm-hmm.
finance without selling first.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very specialized up market.
Right.
If you're going to buy before you sell, you got to be really confident that it's going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the danger is that if you're not listening to your realtor or reading this book,
Right.
to like have a reason to be confident that it's going to sell. Don't be confident it's going to sell because you love it. Oh, I love my
Right.
house.
Yeah, everyone's got that bias, right?
That's it. Like nobody has an ugly baby.
Yeah.
Like so I've seen some ugly damn babies. But
They're still all kind of cute in their own ugly way.
but uh, you need that impartial third party person, or you really need to slip yourself into business mode. Um, Read the Home Seller's Bible or another good book that will help you understand what to look at, what not to look at. That's the difference between the smart money and the dumb money.
Mhm.
You have to understand what renovations will give you a return on investment and which ones will not, which ones have to be done and which ones don't have to be done. Leave those to last, like bottom of the priority list. If
Mhm.
you don't know what that order is, um, I, the volume of really bad decisions that I've seen from the do-it-yourself crowd is shocking. There's some sort of ego involved with it. It's like, oh, I can do this
Mhm.
myself. I can pull my own teeth,
Mhm.
and I can.
Uh-huh.
We all have the technology to do that.
Right.
Not recommended.
Yeah. Especially if it's your first time, and I didn't feel like just this is how we feel about doing marketing as well. I mean, you could do your own Facebook campaigns, your own, marketing, which can be effective if you're branding yourself and doing your own content marketing. But when it comes to generating leads, there's a certain art to it. There's a certain way of formulating each word in the ad copy of the headline or the text and the type of photo that we Photoshop. I mean, there is a template, but we customize it to each market. So I'm about to do a webinar soon about how to do it yourself, and kind of like you writing your own book, like how to do your own, selling your book, selling or buying your home. So I think I'm going to be also providing that for any realtor out there. But again, why do that yourself when you can hire the expert or someone who's been doing that, who has assistants in place already, who's been through not their first rodeo. And I think it's really valuable to.
Well, and that's why I don't do my own Facebook ads. I mean, I don't have the time or the technology or the brain power to do split testing.
Mhm.
And if you don't do split testing, you don't know what works and what doesn't. That's what you guys do. So you split
Right.
test the hell out of it, have fun. I've got enough things I've got to figure out.
And it's not just split testing, Mark. I would say that, a lot with Facebook, and especially these ads, they'll start off good, and then they'll rise up, and then they'll start tapering off as other people are throwing up ads. There's always a competition and bidding, and eventually they get stale and they fall off and peer off. And there's a lot of monitoring and babysitting we do, and then we add, and then we relaunch. We relaunched the ad. We changed up the photos. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes that you don't see, Mark. I don't think I've ever told you all that, but
no, I just know that it
yeah.
works. Can I say the name of your competitor that I used to use?
Oh yeah, sure. Why not?
So
We're completely open.
I was with Bold Leads, nice people.
Yeah.
nice people. We're very hands off, but nice people. And they
Mm-hmm.
have this drip campaign that I was won over by, but it doesn't do anything. I have to do the work. I can't wait
Mm-hmm.
for the drip campaign to do it. But anyway, I was getting maybe 25 leads a month, and
Mm-hmm.
with you guys, I'm at 60
Mm-hmm.
so far, like
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah.
It's and better. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the type of ad. I don't know if it's the ad copy. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
the secret sauce is that you're doing on
Mm-hmm.
your end, Eli.
Yeah.
But they are better, friendlier leads for whatever reason.
It's great to
Uh,
hear.
like when I'm talking to them, sure, you still get the, oh, I'm just looking and all this stuff. But
Yeah.
you got to take, I mean, they're not all going to be gold. They're not all
Sure.
sitting there ready to hand over bags of money.
Right.
But there's enough there where I've had some phenomenal conversations. I have actually been belly to belly just in December with about 12 different people,
Oh,
face to face.
awesome.
Face to face with 12 people. That is my metric. Like how many
Mm-hmm.
people was I face to face with and able to start working with? It's been
Mm-hmm.
a dozen people. It's been phenomenal.
Wow.
And now it's
Spectacular.
just got, it is, and I just got
Uh-huh.
to convert them, you know, but there's
Yeah.
something that you guys are doing that's working, and working better than I've had in the past. That's for sure.
I think it's a combination because I hear mixed reviews from a lot of my clients. I'm not going to say all my clients are doing super well, to be quite open and transparent. And that's why I'm on this call with you to see what you're doing, and if people are doing what you're doing, and I think going through some of the steps that you're kind of, even in that call, it sounds different than what I've heard a lot of realtors pitch and go over on their calls. And getting them on the call, I think, is a real big step for me personally. When I use my own service to generate leads, I text first. This is something I do right away. I text them, letting them know that I will be contacting them. And I think giving them a quick little heads up of what the process is like and what to expect and that upfront contract, even when I get on the phone with them, so I think a lot of those, like telling people what you're going to do first and then following through, and saying, and being a person of integrity, and saying, hey, uh, I saw that you opted into our Facebook post to get you more information. I'll be contacting you shortly. That text message first, and then calling them right away. And they actually pick up and they're kind of shocked. We also,
Hmm.
I don't know if we hooked you up yet, or turned on your Twilio, or we have an auto dialer. Have we started that service with you yet, Mark, where
I
you
don't
do
think
the
so.
auto
I don't
call?
even know.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that for you, Mark, soon. But that's why I think speed to lead is really important. Because once they press submit on that phone, and they get a text message and an email from you saying, "Hey, thank you for opting in," I think it just kind of lets them know that there's a process involved with either getting their home valuation or giving them more information about their search for a new home as a buyer. I think that quick mapping out of what you're going to do and then following through with that, I think speaks volumes of your integrity, and you following through. So I think that's what we do. We try to do for
Right.
our clients. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to that extra service, and away we go. But it's no,
Yeah.
it's been really good for me, Eli. And and the big thing is, I, I don't want to just be the one man show. Most
Mhm.
people are. The vast majority of realtors are perfectly happy being the one man show. But I
Yeah.
want to have some sort of a team. I just want to be the team leader, the coach, the cheerleader, the
Mm.
um, that's what I want to build to, and I
Uh-huh.
can't do that without reliable, predictable, quality leads flowing in on a regular basis.
Mhm.
You can't, and the ROI, the cost per lead with you guys is nominal.
Yeah.
Compared
We
to
try
what
to.
I've done in the past, it's absolutely it's a non-starter. It's a no-brainer for me.
Uh-huh. I appreciate that, Mark. What is kind of your end game? Like, you're what you want to build your team. What is your, I guess, motivation? I can tell you love investing in people and seeing them grow. That's what I've noticed with you, because you're also Sandler certified trainer,
Hmm.
um, and you've trained other teams, and you started training even our calls sales team. a full disclosure. So, and I noticed that you're really invested in people. So is that kind of your end game? I'm just kind of curious
Well,
what you've
that's
been
why I want to do
able
the
to hide
team. I've always received more personal gratification from other people succeeding than my own success, and so I want to succeed by helping other people succeed.
from. Right.
And I'm not really interested at this point anyway of being a real estate coach,
Uh,
getting into that space. Although I do have my coaching certification,
right.
but I just did that as a personal development thing.
Okay.
So my personal vision, real estate's freaking tough.
Okay.
It's a tough go.
Yeah.
And so I want to build to such a volume that I can feed a team, take my humble slice of the pie,
Yeah.
and help them succeed. And not a giant team, it doesn't have to be 50 realtors, but half a dozen anyway.
Uh-huh.
And have my little team, and some of them will fly the coop and go on their own, and that's perfectly fine.
Sure.
I
Sure.
I, I want to build a team where I'm actually encouraging that.
Mhm.
You want to leave the nest
Mhm.
for everybody else that enjoys the support and
Uh-huh.
the consistent leads falling in your lap.
Yeah.
Those ones will stay. Some will stay, some will go. That's fine. But if I'm helping other people be successful, because this is a tough game, it's a tough game,
Yeah.
and but it's a
What
good game. It's a good gig for if it's your personality type. This
what
is a really
what
good gig.
what drives, and I'm gonna go a little kind of meta here, but like what for me, I've had certain things happen in my childhood or upbringing or growth into adulthood that drives me to be high growth, high performer. My eyes are hungry. My heart is hungry. What happened? Is there anything that triggered you to go into this field and to be in growth mode? Like what makes you want to crush? Like in terms of your personal life and development and growing. Is there anything that you can relate to in your past that triggered you? Because I have a chip on my shoulder, for instance. Like, someone told me, I think in terms of like, I'm trying to relate. But one person had told me, you'll never be able to talk to girls or something at one point in my growing up, and like you'll never do that. And then that made me want to go out and learn self development, be able to have conversations and speak more eloquently and to relate to people. So, I mean, what's kind of your, I'm not to say girls are my motivation, but that's just one part of my example. You know what I mean? You know,
That's another course that I put on. I charge double.
uh-huh.
That's a hell of a good question, actually, Eli. I would say because growing up with zero self-esteem, zero encouragement, used to being the guy that didn't win, being last picked on the team. Um,
Mm,
I know what that feels like because I've lived it for a long time, and so my transition from being the person who thought he was worth absolutely nothing to somebody who can take on big projects and do it with confidence, that's a big gap, and I want to help other people bridge that same gap. It's better to be confident. It's a better life,
mm,
and I think that's what it is. And I'm not a I'm not a competitive guy with other people. Like I use the term crush, and that's in the name Crushvertise.
yeah, that's why I
Um,
said it.
yeah, and there is no. I don't want to crush anybody or anything.
Right.
I want to help and lift other people. I've always been that way.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be a social worker when I was in grade school.
Mm.
Uh, that didn't work out.
I
But
mean, I was a physical therapist before I got into this, like like in the last year or so. I mean, 6 years prior, I was a physical therapist trying to rehab people, and now my tagline, I guess, is like I'm trying to rehab people's businesses. So bad. It's such a bad line, but okay. Go ahead.
but
Go
it's
ahead,
the
Mark.
same sort of idea. It's the altruistic part of me, I
Yeah, me too.
suppose, where I just want to help. I want to
Yeah.
be a helpy helperton,
Mm,
and and if I can help others, then great. And the urge to have a bigger business is because I want to see what I can do. That's it.
Mm.
Um, what is my ceiling? And you don't know if you don't put your best foot forward. You can never know what you're capable of if you don't push yourself. So I'm pushing myself.
Mm.
And I want to know, like, how well can I do at this game? Like, what can
Yeah.
I build? I want to
Yeah.
know. I want to see what that is.
Uh-huh.
And if that's a modest business, well, was that my best? Then okay,
Yeah.
you know.
That's a
But I
little bit of
don't
what
think it's
drives me
going to
too.
be. I think because this is my second time building the business,
Uh-huh.
so I'm starting from zero again. I was a realtor for 8 years in a different market, but when my wife moved to a completely other market,
Right.
I followed her to support her, which means I'm starting from zero again because you can't pack up your business and take it with you. It's not
Yeah.
portable.
Yeah.
A realtor, like many business owners, you
Mm-hmm.
are geocentric. You are
Mm-hmm.
locked into the location that you've created a business on it because that is your business is
Yeah.
your
You have to
brand
face to
within that
face,
location.
and you have to show people homes, and you have to be there. So yeah, totally.
Yeah, and it's not easy to do, especially in a smaller town, small market, because
Mm.
people have been here forever. They
Mm.
went to high school with their realtor, that sort of thing, and I've got to break into that. But it's happening, you know.
Yes.
It's and with you guys, it's happening faster and easier
Mhm.
than it was prior to us hooking up.
That's awesome.
So,
I'm
uh,
glad to hear that.
did I answer your question, or did I go off on a
No,
tangent
I
there?
think that pretty much I like to see, part of like what I always love to see and talk to people is I like to see what goes on inside, what the gears are doing in their brain and in their heart, especially the heart. For me, it's
Mm.
like more about that and knowing who I'm dealing with so that, I don't know, I guess I'm a curious being, but I'm also always curious about what patterns and how to figure out people because if you can figure out people, I think that's the quickest way to add value to them or to to see because motivation drives people and motivation will always map out how their actions behave and who you're dealing with, right? So I'm always trying to see who I'm associating my time and energy with, Mark, and so I think that's extremely valuable.
And what somebody's motivation is matters. Every single time that I've heard somebody say, "I'm going to do A, B, and C so that I can have a 200-foot yacht,"
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a yacht, and I'm going to be parked in Monaco, moored in
Yeah,
Monaco, and I'm
yeah.
going to, so I've heard this so many times, and not one of them's ever done it because they don't know what they're not. First of all, the motivation's wrong.
Uh-huh.
If your end goal is $50 million yacht, well,
Right.
hey, I hope you get there. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's not a good motivator. If your motivator is to help people and you have a specific plan on how to do that and how to scale that,
Mm-hmm.
the yacht will come.
Right. Right.
But you have to scale. Very few people have the business acumen to just even understand the concept of scaling. But
Mm-hmm.
without it, you're going to have a lower ceiling.
Mm-hmm. I personally don't have anything, I have some friends who have yachts or, big boats, and I personally don't have anything against it because I get invited to them sometimes and I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I mean, if that's your only thing, but also even behind the yacht, there's some kind of reason, like either it's because cash is a big, this is a whole different topic of motivation. We can get on the podcast, Mark, but yeah, yeah, I'm sure you agree. You're very, your EQ is pretty high, emotionally savvy. So I would say, some of them want to be more significant from that, right? They want to
Mhm.
show that they're somebody. So I don't think it's the yacht in itself. I think it's really just behind that also, that
Well,
behind that layer.
the number one human emotional need is affirmation. So what they're
Uh-huh.
really saying when I want a 200-foot yacht, it's not the thing
Yeah.
that they want.
Right.
It's what the status signifies. So what
Uh-huh.
they're really saying is that I'm a pretty freaking big deal.
Yeah.
And I am a big deal, and and this is going to be my proof that I'm a big deal.
Yeah. We
It's
all have that.
we all search for affirmation.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And love.
yeah, well, that's that. Love is a form of affirmation. It's the highest form of affirmation, right? If I love you, that means that that's as close as you get, which means that you are worth that energy, you are worth that time. And that's what gives that affirmation. And everybody's different, is affirmed differently. I would just caution people that to realize what it is that you're actually looking for. And stuff is a very short sugar high. When you achieve and you get your stuff, I got the car I've always dreamed of. That's a sugar high that'll last like a week. And then all of a sudden it's just not enough. But if you've made a difference in somebody's life, as an example, years ago, I was an adult literacy tutor. It was a volunteer thing. The organization was called PALS, Project Adult Literacy Society. And this is not ESL. This is not somebody that is new to the country. We're talking about people that grew up here and went to high school and can't read a lick. About 23% of born and bred Canadians are at a very low level of literacy. 11% are absolutely illiterate, like they can't read jack squat. And the numbers.
So you went in there. You're helping adults learn to read again, or for the first time. Wow.
Yeah, and it was one-on-one stuff, volunteer, in my spare time kind of thing, and one-on-one stuff, and one of them actually learned. And after 9 months of working together, went from literally didn't know the phonics of the alphabet to reading just fine. And it doesn't matter what happens in life. I can look back and go, okay, I helped one person as best as I could. And that's an impact on their life. Okay. So I've done some good. Okay. Check. Now, if you can scale that, if you can, by founding the literacy movement, and help thousands of people, well, that's even though you're not personally doing it one-on-one, but you're sort of running the show, that's a even bigger impact. But at the end of the day, that's what will really provide people with that sense of affirmation, is that the impact they've had on other people's lives. That's the bottom line. And it's purely selfish. I want to feel good about myself. And
transparent and honest about it.
Sure. I want to feel good about myself.
It's a weird cycle. It's a weird, I would say, chicken or the egg. Like you're helping people and that feels good just for the pure act of it. Just the pure like meta, like I enjoy helping someone, and then that they're benefiting their life, and that's kind of like your legacy that you can leave behind in this world. But also just
it's perfectly selfish. But it's selfish in a way that's beneficial,
helpful.
Well, hopefully. That's how I get. And then everybody's different, but for myself, the more I can, and that's why this is my second book, and both books are to help and to empower. And that's for my own personal benefit, for my own sense of contribution and self-esteem. So it's totally selfish, but it is giving, being altruistic. It's totally selfish, but healthy. I do it for me.
Express it.
Because that's what I do for me, is doing for others. Doing for others does it for me.
Right.
And
how does anyone ever get to like that place of like pure altruism? Right? Is there such a thing? I wonder.
I think it's a fallacy. Helping for the sake of helping. No, that's not what you're doing. You're doing it because helping for the sake of helping makes you feel good.
I think the intent should be that. Like I'll tell you, I think you're spot on in terms of the reality of the situation of mankind, right? We all have this tainted selfish benefit of doing it. I think you fully embraced it. It sounds like you're just like, it's totally. But I think when you really are outward looking, extrospective, right? When you're looking at someone else and you're really giving your heart intention, and the intention behind there is to really push upon someone the pure benefit, and really no strings attached, even though it's going to happen necessarily in the background knowledge. But I think having that forefront upfront intention, I think is really powerful, because you even get a higher return on investment because you know you've done it with such altruism. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, it's a funny sort of catch-22. Altruism makes me feel good,
Yeah.
so that's why I do it. So it's like, oh, you give. I'm kind of taking. Like, and it's actually scientifically proven that the sugar high that you get from receiving a gift is not nearly as meaningful as the sugar high that you get. It's not a sugar high when you provide the gift. Like, it's
Right.
better to give than it is to receive emotionally,
Yeah.
and intellectually. It feeds the soul when you give. Well,
So,
so it's a giving is totally selfish
yeah,
from
like
that perspective,
it
and
ends
that's
up happening
okay.
that way. Yeah, it ends up
That's
happening
okay.
that way.
Yeah.
Mark, if we could just end on and in a few notes, what's the last gift you'd like to give the listeners, in terms of, I guess, providing value for realtors specifically? Because I think I want realtors to listen to this, and some provide some entertainment. Hopefully, that's what I'm trying to give, and some insight. But what are some practical nuggets and concrete tips that you can give either a new rookie realtor, or someone who's been at it but is kind of hitting a rough patch, especially in the shifting housing market? Do you have a few high level experience notes of what's really working for you? And besides the book, I know we've talked about the book a lot, and giving them a gift,
I
and
think the biggest thing, Eli, is decide what your assets are that you're willing to invest into your company. Because you have two choices. You can invest your time with little money, or you can invest a whole bunch of money with little time.
mm,
Pick one.
mhm,
And if you're just starting out and you have no dough, then spend your time. And it's all about service, because that's a genuine relationship.
uh-huh,
If you are client centric and not self centric, like if you are focused on just getting the deal, okay, you'll probably get those deals and good, but your repeat business will be under 20%. Repeat referral will be under 20%. Mine's 86.
mm,
Now, if you can find a happy medium and have your retention rate over 50%, you're doing better than the vast majority.
mm.
Um, at
I think
80%,
that's
86% retention is not easy. It takes a lot of time and attention, but that's my choice where I've focused. So I've chosen with my time. I spend time. I put on client events that they enjoy. I spend money on my client base that I have to
uh-huh,
maintain. That's how I have the 86%. But at the
mm,
same time, I've got to balance that out by generating the new stuff. So you can generate with money, or you can generate with just raw time and grit by going out and door knocking.
uh,
Most people that get into this business are not willing to prospect. They're not willing to call FSBOs. They're not willing to door knock. Okay, then you have to spend money.
yeah.
You have to spend money. And even if you're door knocking, you should be spending some money on the door knocking by leaving behind something that makes sense. What I was using before the book, I actually still have some left over, is door hangers, where I got a bunch of other business owners together to offer something. So each door hanger is worth $350 worth of coupons, each one. Some are $30 here, $40 there. Another one's
Nice.
$300 off a new roof. But either way, it's
Uh-huh.
value.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving you $350. You mind if I give you
I think I
$350?
think that's a good actionable step. I'm looking for like actionable steps. So I think, Mark, that's a good one. I think collaborating is what you do really well. I think that's something that it's not only working with more time, like you said, time or money. And I think there's another one that you're kind of not verbally explicitly saying is smarter, or
Mm.
collaborative wise.
Leveraging. Yeah.
Leveraging not only your time, but figuring out and setting up a win-win situation for all parties involved. And I
Well,
think that's a
like
huge skill and
my
key.
door hangers, I had 2,500 of them made up. I didn't pay for them.
And
So
how did you do that? How did you
25
do that?
2,500 by having 4 other business owners. So I was the guy that put it all together. Each of the 4 business owners are like, great, I only have to pay a quarter of the cost of the 2,500 door hangers.
Uh-huh.
And so I paid for none of them, but I delivered all of them, me and my kids. So that was a
Nice.
lot of steps going up and
Child
down.
labor is always key.
Child labor is great. Uh, I
And did you cold call those businesses? You go into those businesses and say, this is what I'm doing. And then how did you pitch that? And then I have these other businesses already signed up with me. What was your pitch like?
oh, I had some relationships with them. I'm active in the business community. It's part of my business model. I
Okay.
created a business association within our town,
Okay.
and so because I'm not from here. I've only
Okay.
lived.
So how do you do that? Like for those people who don't know how to create business associations, like what do you do? What are those type of steps you do?
Well, I used to be part of BNI, Business Networking International, and anybody
Okay.
can start that.
Okay.
Most chapters start with a realtor because it's
Okay.
by far the most valuable seat. You can easily profit an extra 50 grand a year just by having a BNI chapter. So it's all about the referrals. They get together once a week for 2 hours and trade referrals with each other.
So you type that into your computer and find your local BNI group.
Yep, absolutely. BNI, Bravo November India, Business Networking International.
Okay.
Um, Easy enough. And you can find your local chapter. And if you're a realtor, you're not joining the chances of joining one are just about zero. You almost always have to create one from zero, like from scratch. It almost always starts with mortgage broker, realtor, lawyer. The 3 of them get together and go, ooh, that's a good idea. It's a big investment. It's about $3,000 a year when you look good at it honestly, and 2 hours a week.
Mm.
But I know people doing 150, like realtors, between $50,000 and $200,000 a year just from their BNI group, depending on how well you work it, how big the group is.
How do you grow it?
Together, because that's part of the training is teaching how to get invitations out. So it's just everybody's working together to bring guests, and you don't sign up just anybody. It's one seat per business. So there's only one
Every
realtor.
sector.
There's only one realtor. There's only one lawyer. There's only one financial advisor. There's no duplication. So people lock out their competition by just like your clients. They lock out the postal codes. First come, first serve.
Mm-hmm.
First come.
Okay.
So they lock out the competition and they just grow it. So, and that's really how I learned the value of it. And in our town, I was listening to the business owners, and I don't want to badmouth, but our Chamber of Commerce could probably use some improvement. And so the people that are less than thrilled with our Chamber of Commerce are coming to me.
I see.
And the business association is growing as a result.
How is your association that much better than the Chamber of Commerce, and what's the bad taste in their mouth, and how do you turn people that were not so happy with Chamber of Commerce and make your BNI that much more attractive? What's your market differentiator there?
The BNI chapter that I founded, I helped raise another one as well, but the one that I actually started, I was member number 1, is now the biggest in Western Canada. It's a whopper. And when I started it, our first year we got up to 27 members, which is significant.
Yeah.
And the core reason is like we were still business, and following the process and taking it seriously and being professional about it, but it was always fun. When I was the president, it was always fun. And fun and enjoyable. And you got to walk that line. You got to find the line. If it's too fun, then it's a shit show.
Yeah.
So you've got to, but if it's too stiff, nobody wants to be there.
Yeah. So you got to balance those two.
Yeah, I was asked
I'm going to ask you more about that later, Mark, on a different podcast, because I'd love to know how you ran your meetings on a granular scale. Because I'm all about high level discussions, like just the theory, but then I'm all about how to implement those theories, because I think that really adds value and how to give people actionable steps and how to replicate your success. And I think we'll save that for next time.
Yeah, I'll give you the structure of the business association. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but it works. Actually, that's why it works. And then, of course, my award-winning charm.
That's subjective, Mark. Results aren't. So,
all right. Eli Cho, Crushvertise.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having a good conversation with me today. And for the viewers, please throw in some comments. If any of the concepts, tips, or tricks that we were talking about, if you disagree with them, if you agree with them, please put it in. This is going to be on all kinds of platforms. This will be on YouTube, where my full collection is, and it's going to be on iTunes, Anchor.fm, Stitcher, about 11 different podcast platforms. So please comment, provide your feedback, including questions. If there's questions that you would like to hear but you didn't hear, throw them in there, and when Eli and I get together again, we will cover those questions. Thank you.
On Instagram for
a
follow.
On Instagram,
Dr. Eli Cho.
Eli Cho.
Dr. Eli
All right,
Cho.
brother. Thanks very much, and thanks everybody for tuning in to the Mind Key Show podcast.